What if winter, usually associated with Russia's strength, became its downfall? As chilling temperatures grip the region, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy declared that Putin's two true allies are terror and winter. But does this statement hold weight against the backdrop of a war that has endured for years? Let's delve deeper into the implications of this merciless season as it approaches. Zelenskyy's remarks on July 10 painted a stark picture of the challenges facing Ukraine. While he identified winter as a formidable adversary, the footage of Russia's leader socializing with his allies in the SCO summit in Tianjin, China, somewhat undermines his assertion. With powerful partnerships extending to countries like China, India, Iran, and North Korea, Russia's ability to fight through tough times appears augmented. Yet, winter remains critical. Historically known as General Winter, this harsh season has often spelled doom for invading armies. The catastrophic cold has thwarted every attempted invasion since the 1700s. But could it be that this year, the tables will turn? With the current state of warfare, this upcoming winter might just favor Ukraine. In Russia, winter is often referred to as General Moros. This masculine term evokes toughness, much like the climatic conditions faced by troops on both sides. With temperatures plummeting between 14 and -22 degrees Fahrenheit, the winter here is unforgiving. Snow and ice blanket the landscape, while icy winds make basic tasks treacherous, let alone the complexities of war. The Russian winter has earned a notorious reputation as the graveyard for empires. General Winter first claimed notoriety during the Great Northern War in the early 1700s. Charles XII of Sweden learned this lesson the hard way in 1707, as his beleaguered troops faced unyielding cold and dwindling numbers, dropping from 35,000 to just 19,000 by spring due to freezing conditions. The legacy continued with Napoleon in 1812 when his Grande Army met a similar fate. More than 400,000 French soldiers met the brutal winter, and by the time frost gripped the land, starvation and exposure had decimated their ranks. Napoleon's forced retreat underscored a critical truth: it wasn't solely winter that squeezed these armies but a combination of strategy, logistics, and unforeseen circumstances. Fast forward to World War II, and the Nazis fell prey to the same grim reality. As they invaded in June 1941, their initial rapid successes gave way to a grueling war of attrition. By winter, they were left exposed, bogged down by inadequate supplies and a severe lack of winter gear. The blizzards surged, as did the Soviet counteroffensive, plunging the Germans into chaos. As the legend of General Winter grew, the narrative crystallized in the minds of many: winter protects Russia. Yet, critics argue that this idealization overlooks the logistical failures and strategic miscalculations that had already set in long before winter arrived. For Ukraine, lessons learned from history become opportunities. Support from NATO has equipped Ukrainian forces with the necessary winter gear. Different from the ill-prepared invasions of the past. Could this strategic preparation turn General Winter from a friend of Russia into a foe? As temperatures drop, tensions rise, and the outcome of this battle might hinge on more than just the unyielding cold. As we contemplate the coming months, questions linger. Will winter favor the unyielding generals of the past, or could it pave the way for a new narrative? The winds of change howl ominously, and both sides prepare for an arduous journey ahead. Will the icy grasp of winter deliver a shocking twist in this ongoing conflict? The answers lie just beyond the horizon, waiting to unfold. Drawing from historical accounts of bitter winters and their impact on military campaigns, we delve into a harsh reality: winter in Eastern Europe is a deadly adversary. This season is no mere backdrop, it is a formidable opponent that has toppled empires. In the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, the coming months could prove pivotal. As the gripping chill of winter approaches, temperatures plunge dramatically, often dipping between 14 to -22 degrees Fahrenheit. A cacophony of icy winds howls through desolate towns, and relentless blizzards blanket the land in snow and ice. This brutal climate presents immense challenges, not just to daily survival, but to the very act of warfare. Since the early 18th century, the bitter cold has betrayed numerous armies. The most notorious instance was the Great Northern War, where Charles XII of Sweden faced the wrath of a merciless winter in 1709. With 35,000 Swedish troops stranded in freezing temperatures, many succumbed to the elements by the time spring arrived, leaving only 19,000 to retreat. Their eventual defeat at the Battle of Poltava marked the end of the Swedish Empire, driven to ruin by winter's unforgiving grasp. Fast forward to June 1812, when Napoleon Bonaparte's Grand Army marched toward Moscow. With over 400,000 troops, he underestimated his foe once again. The Russians deployed scorched earth tactics, decimating resources as they retreated to deny the advancing French any sustenance. By early November, starvation plagued the French ranks, worsened by improper clothing that left them vulnerable to the numbing cold. Imagine the freezing nights. Soldiers trembling in their inadequate summer attire, desperation and death haunting the air as hypothermia claimed thousands. The terror of cold was so overpowering that one could hardly sustain a position in camp, lamented a close advisor to Napoleon. Soldiers dropped like flies, unable to endure the frigid darkness. As we witness history through these chilling episodes, one begs the question, could this winter finally turn the tide in favor of Ukraine? History hints at possible outcomes, suggesting that just as the past generations faltered, so might Russia's forces find themselves at the mercy of the elements. Could we witness the resurgence of a nation empowered by its military readiness against an opponent unprepared for the icy onslaught? Only time will unveil the gripping saga that lies ahead. As winter approached, the German army found itself in dire straits. The supplies of food dwindled dangerously low, transforming the once mighty force into a desperate, starving horde. The soldiers, inadequately equipped for the freezing temperatures, faced a chilling reality: they were still wearing summer uniforms. This catastrophic oversight proved devastating. Thousands succumbed to the harsh elements, succumbing to starvation, hypothermia, and gangrene long before they could retreat. In the icy grip of the Russian winter, despair settled heavy upon the German ranks. Armand de Caulaincourt, one of Napoleon's key advisors, painted a grisly picture of soldiers defeated not only by warfare but by nature itself. The cold was so demanding that setting up camp became unbearable, he reported. You would find men who had collapsed under the weight of the cold, too feeble to stand. Those who fell asleep against the savagery of winter would never awaken. Because to sleep, in that relentless chill, was simply to die. The paths were littered with their lifeless forms. Fast forward to June 1941, Germany ignited Operation Barbarossa, unleashing an invasion that history records as the largest military campaign ever documented. 3.8 million German soldiers pitted against approximately 2.9 million Russians, stretching over an astonishing 1,800 miles. The Nazis carved through territory with ruthless efficiency, capturing millions of Soviet soldiers and civilians, subjected to the heinous hunger plan designed to starve them into submission. But Hitler miscalculated gravely. Instead of pushing into the heart of Russia, he diverted his forces to Ukraine, stretching the campaign too thin and dragging it into the depths of winter. By September, while Kiev had fallen, the Russians regrouped, rallying around Moscow with 1 million troops and a fleet of over 1,000 freshly minted T-34 tanks. What lay ahead was a showdown that neither side could fully prepare for, a winter that would become infamous, reshaping the landscape of their conflict entirely. How would the harsh elements influence the outcome of the war this time? With snow and frost ready to blanket the land, the stage was set for a brutal confrontation. The frigid grip of winter is often perceived as the guardian of Russia, a force that no army can withstand. Yet, every legend has its cracks. As history unfolds, what if this season were to unravel the very fabric of that invincibility? Let's journey back in time to World War II, where the German army stood poised for a swift victory. They underestimated the Russian winter, believing they could crush the Soviet Union with brute force. Führer Adolf Hitler, with grand ambitions, insisted, "We have only to kick in the door, and the whole rotten thing will come down." But the invaders failed to prepare for the relentless cold. As they marched toward Moscow, fall rains turned the roads into treacherous mud, immobilizing their blitzkrieg. With winter's icy breath drawing closer, German troops, clad in insufficient summer gear, faced dire conditions. Their weapons jammed, vehicles sputtered and failed to start, while soldiers succumbed to the freezing temperatures. Despite the grim situation, Army Group Center pressed on, getting perilously close to Moscow, just 12 miles away. But then, the blizzard struck. The German command opted to dig in for the winter instead of risking a retreat. Back home, efforts were underway to gather winter clothing, with a staggering 76 million items collected in just 8 days. Yet, it was too little, too late. The Soviets, better prepared and fortified, counterattacked. Trapped in heavy snow, the Germans' Luftwaffe was rendered useless. By January 7, 1942, the Soviets had pushed the German forces back 155 miles from Moscow, inflicting a staggering loss of over 400,000 men. General Winter had not only defended Russia but had crippled the German war effort, leading to the eventual advance of Red Army tanks into Berlin in 1945. This narrative solidified the belief that Winter is an impenetrable shield for Russia. For decades, this story has been recast as a rallying cry, a legend invoking courage in the face of adversity. Today, as the specter of General Winter looms over Ukraine, we must question, does this season still favor Russia? The forthcoming winter might just reveal a surprising twist. The Ukrainian forces, learning from the bitter lessons of history, may well turn the tables. They're no longer the underdogs scrambling against the odds. Instead, they could harness the very cold that's haunted centuries of invasions, and in turn, it may be the winter that gives them the upper hand. Will this winter redefine the battlefield? Will it transform the narrative of invincibility associated with General Winter? As the frost sets in, both sides must brace for a season that promises to shape the future of the conflict. In a world where winter's icy grip has reshaped the fates of empires, one question looms ominously: could this season spell disaster for Russia instead of a boon? Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy drew a stark picture of his nation's foes, stating that apart from terror, winter is one of Russia's staunchest allies. Yet, as he observed Russian President Putin cozied up with leaders from Asia at a summit, it became evident that the winter's grip might be slipping. For centuries, winter, or what some call General Winter, has been the bane of invaders. The frigid temperatures have thwarted the ambitions of many an army, yet as we reflect, is this narrative still true? The harsh winters of the 1700s saw Swedish troops decimated by bitter cold, with only a fraction of Charles XII's forces returning home. Fast forward to 1812, Napoleon's expedition faltered not merely because of the cold, but due to the weight of strategic miscalculations woven into the fabric of war itself. His Grande Armée, cold, ill-prepared, and undersupplied, faced the harsh embrace of winter as bodies lined the snowy roads, men succumbing to frostbite or starvation. Jumping to the mid-1900s, history repeated itself as the Nazis marched towards Moscow, believing victory was within grasp. However, the ruthless cold and unforeseen counteroffensives shattered their dreams, forcing a retreat that scarred the German military reputation forever. The whispers of winter's ferocity echoed through the corridors of power. But as we brace for the winter of 2023, things have changed. Analysts now argue that Ukraine, equipped with lessons learned and resources from allied nations, stands on equal ground against the winter elements. Contrary to the past, it is now Russia which finds itself as the aggressor, a precarious position that could lead to its downfall. Is winter still a friend to Russia? Historians suggest that the true reasons behind past failures lay not solely in the unforgiving cold but in strategic blunders and troop depletions long before winter set in. With modern logistics and preparation, this scenario could be dramatically different. The question remains, could the frost that once favored invasions now bring Russia to its knees? As we inch closer to winter's doorstep, will Ukraine harness the icy wind's potential to turn the tide? The stakes are at an all-time high, and the battlefield will become a proving ground for resilience or desperation. Could this be the winter that reshapes history once more? Only time will tell as icy winds howl ominously, waiting for their moment to strike. In a gripping future, one leader boldly states, Putin has only two true allies, terror and winter. We must confront both. This powerful assertion from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy on July 10 sets the stage for an intense clash ahead. As Zelenskyy's words echo in the hearts of his people, a chilling scene unfolds. Russian President Vladimir Putin mingles with allies from across Asia at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit, giving his assertions some credibility as he flexes Russia's global muscle. Yet, it's the biting cold of winter that looms as a decisive force in this ongoing conflict. History tells us that General Winter has thwarted many armies seeking to conquer Russian land. This concept, known as General Winter, has sent shivers down the spines of invaders for centuries. From Sweden's disastrous campaigns in the 1700s to Napoleon's fateful retreat and the Nazis' hurried advance, each army has faltered against the unforgiving cold that blankets the terrain. But is winter truly an ally to Russia? Right now, Ukraine gears up, managing to turn the tables in this intricate game of chess. As frosty winds whisper across the landscape, they hold promises of new tactics. Zelenskyy emphasizes that the Ukrainian forces are not the same underdogs they once were. With enhanced equipment and technology, they are learning from past mistakes and preparing more efficiently for the cold ahead. Consider this: as the winter approaches, Russia is on the offensive rather than the defensive, marking a stark difference from history. The vast expanse of Ukraine, with its harsh winters, mirrors that of Russia, but this time, the aggressors may find themselves exposed. While the attackers often rely on makeshift shelters and sprawling supply lines, defenders like Ukraine may have the edge this time, fortified by modern technology and strategic awareness. Winter has always favored those in entrenched positions, those who can access warmth and resources. As conflict heats up in autumn, Ukraine scrambles to hold key cities like Pokrovsk and Kupiansk against unrelenting Russian advances. The question looms: can they withstand the Russian push before harsh winter conditions set in? As snow begins to fall, technologies such as drones and satellite surveillance may challenge traditional tactics. Sneak attacks, once the hallmark of the aggressor, seem nearly impossible under constant observation. The battle for supremacy this winter may prove more complex than anyone ever imagined. The frost might not cradle Russian troops this year as it once did. Defenders like Ukraine are fortified and resilient. Will winter transform into an adversary for the aggressors, forcing them back into their own territories? With lives hanging in the balance, both soldiers and civilians brace for the shifting tides of conflict, where the cold may bring unexpected twists to this profound struggle. In this battle, every gust of wind might carry with it a fate, the fate of nations resting in the grip of general winter. As the stakes rise, the world watches with bated breath. The winter months have the potential to reshape the destiny of this enduring war that has claimed so many lives and affected millions. What will the bitter cold reveal this time? Each heartbeat resonates with the cold, and as the icy winds begin to howl, we await the next chapter in this unfolding saga. As winter approaches in Ukraine, a historic battle unfolds, echoing the past's whispers of defeat against the cruel embrace of General Winter. In a compelling address on July 10, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy painted a stark picture of his nation's imminent challenges. He asserted that Russia's two true allies are terror and winter, emphasizing the harsh reality facing his people. Yet, as footage emerged showing Russian leader Vladimir Putin cozying up to allies in Asia, doubts crept in about this assertion. Could winter truly be a weapon for Russia as it has historically been? The looming winter months could redefine the battlefield, reversing the ancient narrative of Russia's frosty protector. Often called General Frost in Russia, this harsh winter has historically served as a graveyard for many ambitious armies. But amid the chill lies a twist: could this year's winter favor Ukraine instead? Throughout history, General Winter has played a pivotal role in determining the fate of invaders. During the Great Northern War, Charles XII of Sweden met his match against an unforgiving winter, suffering devastating losses. A century later, Napoleon's ill-fated campaign in 1812 ended in catastrophic defeat, with many of his troops succumbing to starvation and hypothermia long before winter's peak. Similarly, Germany's Operation Barbarossa during World War II faced a bitter end, with frost laying waste to Nazi ambitions as the Soviets rallied against them. But here's the twist: could Ukraine's well-prepared forces turn the winter tide? Russia's past mistakes loom large. And unlike their historical adversaries, Ukraine has learned from these lessons. Armed with NATO's assistance, Ukrainian forces are ready for the chill, equipped with winter gear that could spell the difference between victory and defeat. Yet this winter, another formidable adversary lingers: General Mud. As temperatures drop, the soil transforms, turning battlefields into treacherous quagmires. The Rasputitsa, as the Russians call it, could ensnare both armies. While modern tanks boast advanced capabilities, they too are not immune to becoming mired in muddy terrain. As reports emerge detailing staggering equipment losses on both sides, it's evident that neither army has navigated this treacherous terrain unscathed. Stranded tanks and artillery pieces, many lost in the mud rather than in direct combat, reveal the truth of warfare's unpredictability. With both sides facing fierce wintry challenges, which force will best adapt to overcome the elements? This winter promises not just icy temperatures but a pivotal moment in a conflict that has wrought sorrow and resilience in equal measure. As general winter looms large on the horizon, the echo of history reverberates. Victory is not just about numbers or strength, but about adapting swiftly to the harshest of conditions. The question remains, who will emerge victorious as the elements clash with the ambitions of nations? As the icy grip of winter approaches, two warriors stand opposed, the fierce Ukrainian forces and the unforgiving elements of their homeland. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has boldly declared that Russia's only true allies are terror and winter itself. In the face of mounting challenges, the question looms, will winter become a harbinger of doom for Russia, or will it solidify their grasp on power? For centuries, winter has been known as General Winter, a name whispered reverently among those who have dared invade Russia. The likes of Charles XII of Sweden and Napoleon Bonaparte discovered the bitter truth of the Russian winter. Countless armies have perished in the relentless cold and snow. But that was then, and this is now. The upcoming winter presents a multifaceted battleground where the outcome remains uncertain. Recent reports indicate that Ukrainian FPV drones have decisively dismantled nearly two-thirds of Russia's 11,000 destroyed tanks, many captured in difficult terrain. The muddy seasons have proven perilous for armored vehicles, mobility is severely restricted as the ground turns to muck, and drones loom in the skies like vultures waiting to strike. However, as autumn transforms into winter, a solid layer of ice will offer new opportunities for both sides, sparking a race against time. The urgency escalates. Russia's ambitions to capture strategic cities before mud traps their forces becomes critical. Urban strongholds, once mere blips on the map, turn into battlegrounds reminiscent of gruesome conflicts in Mariupol and Bakhmut. The Ukrainians stand resolute, their survival hinging on preventing Russian encroachment during this precarious transition from fall to winter. As we look ahead, the role of winter in warfare has dramatically shifted. The defenders, as Ukraine is poised to be, have the advantage of familiarity with their harsh environment, thanks to NATO allies ensuring their forces are well equipped for the cold. Will winter become a merciless foe for Russia as it has been for numerous armies before? Only time will tell if this season will remain a lethal adversary or turn into an unexpected weapon for Ukraine. With tensions flaring and the battle lines drawn, there's no turning back. As the frost begins to settle in, both sides prepare for the relentless fight that lies ahead. The heavy winds howl through the barren trees, and a chilling omen looms over the landscape. Will history repeat itself, or will it unfold in an unforeseen direction? Only the coming months will reveal if General Winter will reclaim its legacy or forge a new narrative on the frozen fronts of Ukraine. In a gripping tale of resilience and strategy, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy highlighted two formidable allies of the Russian regime, terror and winter. As the world watched the Russian leader mingle with global allies in China, the severity of winter's role in warfare came to the forefront. History has shown us that winter, referred to as General Winter or, in Russia, General Moroz, has turned the tides against many invaders who underestimated its might. Let's rewind to the past. Remember the ice-cold desperation faced by Charles XII of Sweden in the early 1700s? As he invaded Russia, an unforgiving winter claimed his army, which dwindled from 35,000 to a mere fraction by spring. Fast forward a century, and Napoleon's 400,000 men met a similar fate, with severe frost exacerbating an already dire situation. By 1941, during World War II, the Nazis, initially successful, were thwarted by the brutal Siberian cold. Could winter once more become a formidable adversary for an invading force? Now, as winter approaches again, Ukraine stands poised to turn the historical narrative on its head. This time, technology plays a key role in the defense. Ukrainian forces, unlike past armies, are armed with cutting-edge drones and missiles, ready to capitalize on Russia's vulnerabilities. Imagine the scene: Russian troops huddle in exposed positions, their supply lines stretched thin. Ukrainian drones, highly advanced, hover above, their cameras scanning for any movement. The moment a Russian supply vehicle ventures into the open, it's met with devastating precision. The strategy? Create lethal zones where anything attempting to move becomes an easy target. Around key towns like Pokrovsk and Kostiantynivka, Ukrainian forces have transformed the terrain into a hardened battleground. Advanced tactics see them strike vital logistics routes, railways and bridges, crippling the enemy's ability to sustain operations. Each attack reverberates with lessons learned from the past. This evolving landscape of warfare reflects a shift. The defenders, equipped and aware, are redefining what it means to withstand the winter. This season could serve as the stage for a shocking reversal as Ukraine transforms General Winter from a historical adversary into an unlikely ally. With key lessons from history and innovative new tactics, will Ukraine emerge victorious? As the chill of winter descends, the world holds its breath, watching as history unfolds anew. How will the balance of power shift in this icy confrontation? The coming months may redefine the age-old narrative of General Winter and its place in warfare. Prepare for a winter that tells a story of resilience, strategy, and ultimately, hope. In a world where epic struggles define nations, the Ukrainian resolve is intense as winter approaches, a time synonymous with harsh conditions and strategic maneuvers. This is the heartbeat of a new chapter in the ongoing conflict with Russia. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy recently acknowledged two formidable opponents, terror and winter. The ominous chill of the impending season poses an extraordinary challenge, lying at the crossroads of survival and decisive action. The sentiment echoed by many is stark. Throughout history, Russia's winter has been an unyielding sentinel, stifling advances of armies intent on conquest. Yet, could this year, an unexpected twist shift the tides? As darkness looms, could it also become Ukraine's lifeline? With the muddy season's slowing movements and logistics straining the Russian forces, Ukraine stands poised, ready to leverage modern weaponry. Drones equipped with enhanced capabilities and precision strikes are the new frontier of warfare. Observers note a dramatic evolution in strategy. Ukrainian attacks now focus on crippling fewer targets but with lethal precision. This creates a web of isolated Russian forces, abandoned in a winter wasteland, devoid of sustenance and ammunition. What will they choose? Surrender or face the bitter cold head-on? History has shown that underestimating the brutal force of winter can lead to disastrous results. The remnants of past invasions are not merely relics, they are warnings. Charles XII of Sweden and even Napoleon Bonaparte learned this harsh lesson, as their campaigns met with bitter defeat against the relentless winter. The frozen ground became their enemy, and their armies crumbled. As Ukrainian forces forge ahead towards significant cities like Pokrovsk and Kostiantynivka, will history repeat itself? If they can hold the line during this muddy interlude, General Winter might become a formidable ally. The keywords echo: isolation, freezing, and the struggle for survival amid desolation. And as the victor stands ready to emerge, we ponder, will the Russians flee under pressure, just as they did in Kharkiv and Kherson? This winter holds that potential twist in its icy grasp, promising a decisive confrontation. Should Ukraine successfully navigate the brutal chill, they might influence the course of this war in ways unforeseen. As frost creeps ever closer, the possibilities widen. General Winter is a force that could blunt an invading army's strength, yet it is not invincible, particularly if Ukraine's strategy unfolds as intended. The clock is ticking, a new phase awaits as the muddy paths yield to a winter of reckoning. The stage is set. What will happen next? Keep your eyes open as we bring you the unfolding tale of winter's grip on this conflict. Each element will reveal itself, ready to reshape the final outcomes in the war between nations.